Hello and welcome to the countdown to the celebrations marking 20 years of the Golden Revolution of the Gambia. Back in 1994, gallant men came over and established a revolution that ushered in the Second Republic of the Gambia. And as we look forward to the celebrations marking to the 20th anniversary, we bring you members of the executive to dilate on why we have to celebrate. And of course we have to celebrate. And tonight on the panel I have with me the Minister of Fisheries, Mass Axi Gai is here with me. Mass, welcome to the countdown.
Thank you, Alhaji Malik.
And of course we also have the Honorable Minister for Tourism and Culture, a man who knows a lot about the tourism industry. He's been director of the tourism board, Mr. Ben Roberts. Ben, welcome to the countdown.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Let me begin with fisheries. This is the heart of the president. This is where the thrust is for Gambians to participate fully. Maxi, give us an update. 20 years now, 1994 to date.
Thank you very much, Malik. In fact, we've gained ground much in fisheries within this revolution. If you remember 20 years ago, taking stock within the period and now, you will realize that it's physically seen. Why? Because we've been left behind in terms of infrastructure, participation in all sectors of fisheries. But from 1994 to date, I think Gambia has been recognized both locally and internationally, because we are members of all the sectors in fisheries, both Africa and the world over. Talking about home, much has been done and a lot of achievements has been on within this period. Besides looking at how much we've gained in line with our neighbors or whoever is in the sector, countrywide, or we're talking in terms of the membership of the sub-region, which we share one group, 7 of us. And now Gambia is now in the forefront. The sub-regional commission, Fisheries Commission, which comprises Gambia, Sierra Leone, Guinea-Conakry, Guinea-Bissau, Senegal, and Cape Verde. In that level, like I can say, we've gained a lot of ground as a member.
In other words, regional and continental, as well as looking at it globally, our membership to these organizations.
Yes, we are partner in all these organizations. Coming in the home front, looking at our achievements, you realize that we have the fishing jetty in Banjul. The fishing jetty is a high-level sort of a project in line with fishing. Why? Because we have an area to bat almost 5 to 7 conventional trawlers, and we have pontoons where the artisanal fishing boats will bat themselves too. So the jetty is there for both the conventional fishing trawlers and for the pirogues. Again, all we need to complement out of that is the slipway of the shipyard. If that is finished, Alhaji Malik, if that is finished, then we are in line with the normal standards of our counterparts, because that is the missing link now.
I will come to the other projects you have. I talked about the jetties, but let me quickly go over to the other side of the aisle and talk to my brother, Minister for Tourism and Culture, Benjamin Roberts. Benjamin Roberts, tourism 1994 to date, we have seen some remarkable achievements.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Jones. I think just to throw out some statistics out there, when the July 22nd revolution ushered itself in, you can count the number of hotels that were in existence then, especially if we have to talk about 4-star and 5-star hotels. You had the likes of the Kairaba Beach Hotel, you had the likes of Senegambia Beach Hotel, you had the Amis Beach then, along with other hotels like Fajara and stuff. So I think all in all, at the time, you were probably looking around 7 to 10 hotels. Now, as we speak, we have over 35 hotels in the Gambia. We've seen new additions, the likes of Sheraton, we've seen the likes of the Coco Ocean, Ocean Bay, amongst others. And of course, we have lost some in terms of some being inoperational, but we've seen a whole lot more resurface in the 3-star and 4-star category. I think remarkable achievements have been made also in terms of tourism arrival numbers. Yes, tourism started, following our independence in 1965. But in terms of arrival numbers, we were very much looking around 40, 50,000. I remember in 2003, when I came back home working with Standard Chartered Bank, then I was the one responsible for keeping tabs in terms of the number of arrivals. We did that because it was a good source of foreign exchange for the banks. And then back in those days, tourism arrival numbers were hovering around the 60,000, 70,000 mark. As we speak today, last season we had 172,000 arrivals, marching towards the 200,000 arrival numbers. So I think, yes, remarkable achievements have been made in the areas of tourism. And of course, we are not content and we are not resting our laurels, and we believe that a whole lot more could be achieved. So in a nutshell, I think the July 22nd revolution has ushered in some blessings, if you will, for the tourism sector.
The Gambia Tourism Board came in within this period. Its role as an auxiliary to the tourism industry.
Quite right. I think in 2010, but in effect 2011, the government at the time saw the need, for tourism to play a much bigger role in terms of, economic development. And I think there was some engagement with the World Bank in terms of restructuring the then Gambia Tourism Authority, because it was felt at the time that there wasn't much in terms of internationally pushing the tourism agenda. And the focus, there wasn't much focus really in terms of driving tourism. So the GTA was restructured into the Gambia Tourism Board with emphasis on marketing and product development. Two important corollaries, if you will, needed to actually move the tourism industry forward. And I think some credit has to be given here to my predecessor, the former Minister of Tourism and Culture, because she was in the forefront at the time. And a lot has been achieved since that restructuring. And I think what we are now doing is just trying to cement those activities that were conceived, those action plans, if you will. There were a total of 60 action plans that were conceived, out of which 43 has been implemented to date. So we've got 17 more to go. Of course, these are supposed to be over a 5-year period. So what that means is, and we've got 3 years to go. So, 2 years to go, sorry. So what that means is that we perhaps need to start conceiving of new strategies vis-a-vis taking the industry to the next level.
There's more to look out for in tourism. Of course, we've got the Gambia Hotel School. The Bumster syndrome is now under the carpet. But let me get back to Axi Gai. You've mentioned the jetty in Banjul. Let's look at other infrastructural developments. Let's look at the other jetties around.
In fact, Malik, as I said earlier, we have the jetty here, but again, the produce of what is going to be taken to these areas has been created, because we have the backwater market, we have the Birkama market. Both of them are so much large that any quantity of fish that is brought into our waters can be taken care of in terms of keeping them. And in that line, the local fisher folk are enjoying the same, because they are having the ice product for the post-harvest losses that were used to happen. We used to lose a lot of our product in terms of not having access to ice and the ice sort of rooms, cooling system, etc. But now I think it's enough from here to Birkama. Banjul, is created one, and the Banjul ice plant, which was down, now has been taken over by the Banjul City Council, and the Austin people will join them to develop it and access ice and ice activities there. The Pelican Seafood can do the same for us, and etc., etc. You have the Kandaka on the highway. 2 fishing industries are there. I can tell you the post-harvest loss that used to happen is no longer happening now. And these two catchment areas, the Serekunda and Birkam, are doing well in line with what has been happening on the coastal end here. Coming out of the post-harvest protection, we have now what we call the Fisheries health activity, where we have this Banafa projects which created health sort of houses, cleans for taking, toilets, etc., for all the fishing in the areas. Starting from Kamolo, you'll see one on your right, or on your left going to Banjul, on your right coming to the Combos. Two has been created in Joswang, one for the tri-oyster women, one for the normal fisher folk. We have one in Burfoot, one in Tanje, one in Sanyang, and in Gunjur, the whole of them. This, to create the hygienic aspect of handling fish and fish products. Coming out of there too, we've gone into the smoke houses. We've created, government through certain funds has created smoke houses in all these areas. But again, thanks to the president, it's not enough. He has created 2 new ones, which is to be inaugurated during the course of the celebration. So Malik, I think there is a tremendous development in the fishing sector.
Now, how has this impacted on the citizenry? Are Gambians coming out to be part and parcel of the industry? Have we seen an increase in the number of Gambians getting into it?
I can give you by statistics, Malik, that before the advent of the July 22nd, you had only about 10 or 13% of Gambians actively going into this. And the 13%, 10 of them were women. Today, as statistics goes on, we have almost about 78% of Gambians into the industry. And we're pushing forward, inshallah, in the next 2 years, we might be about 90% of Gambians into this, especially when we want to engage the youths. Remember, we are trying to diversify to go into aquaculture. We've gained much ground on that too, so much so that we've signed an MOU with the Ministry of Youth and Sports. And that helped us to create facilities for the youths to go into fish farming. For instance, at the moment, we've dug almost 10 ponds at Nyaniberry for the NYSS system to grow. They will have the nursery, the hatchery, everything will be there for the 10 ponds for them. We have the similar project in Sapo, where there again we have a hatchery to build up our nursery. It was created by the Taiwanese, of course, but Gambians were trained and they've taken it over. And the process goes on. At the moment, as I'm talking to you, we are about to sign an MOU with the Ministry of Basic Education, Secondary Basic Education, because for Vision 2016, you know that already schools have farms, and they are trying to use the farms as a feeding program for themselves. We are working in line with them. We want to create this aquaculture system too into the school system, where they grow their food and harvest their fish in line with that. So that's because of having this MOU. We are going to sign it immediately after the celebrations with the Ministry of Secondary Basic Education, so that they've already given us the pilot areas where we should start with, starting from Banjul all the way to Koina. So you can see that, our belief in the sector is going to grow, because when it is handled by the schools, maintenance and the continuity will be there. So we are about to do that again.
Well, I should congratulate you, because at the end of the day, the leadership's goal and aspiration is to make sure that Gambians get involved. The impact should be on the Gambians getting actually involved in earning, in being able to be productive in the sectors that you've said. Let me turn over to my brother again, the Honorable Minister for Tourism and Culture. Away has gone the Bumster syndrome. The Gambia Hotel School has gone very far now. It's in hospitality. The last time I visited it, and I met the managing director of the institute, plans are on the way for it to become a sort of a hotel. Now, put me up to date on Gambia Hotel School, and of course the disappearance of the Bumster syndrome.
Thank you, Malik. I think the Bumpster Menace, as we refer to it, is a challenge that we've managed some progress on. Of course, it's not completely eradicated, and I think initiatives have been put in place to see how we rehabilitate some of these bumpsters. It's kind of a challenge because you rehabilitate some, and you have new ones that come up. So it's an issue that we're going to have to be dealing with. But hopefully we would get to the point where we achieve some containment. The Gambia Tourism Hospitality Institute, yes, I think a lot of effort has been put in that initiative, and of course the progress from the hotel school to the GTHI. As it is right now, I think tremendous strides have been made in the area of Hospitality Institute. The new DG is in place, and various initiatives have been undertaken, not only to have the GTHI operational locally and provide that avenue for people to be trained in terms of hospitality, but also trying to get the GTHI to become an international institute. International in the sense that to attract people from the sub-region, because Gambia as it is quite renowned in terms of it being in the forefront in tourism in the sub-region. We have various countries that come here to actually take cue from what we've achieved over the years. Nigeria is a case in point, big brother Nigeria. We've signed an MOU with them, and we're providing support to them as well. But it goes beyond Nigeria. Even Sierra Leone, about a year ago, I personally met with the DG of the tourism board in Sierra Leone, and initiatives were being worked on, for them to also be availed the same opportunity we avail to the Nigerians. I think in terms of standards, because when you talk of hospitality, the buzzwords, one of the buzzwords is standards. And I think this is where the relevance and importance of the GTHI comes in, because the students who go to this institute are supposed to come out with the requisite experience to deliver, with requisite knowledge and ultimately experience to deliver the top-notch quality service standards one expects from a hospitality and tourism outfit. So I think a lot of focus is being put in that regard, because service standards is key, and I think the GTA board at its level, the GTHI at its level also is working in terms of enhancing standards. But most importantly, trying to get the GTHI to be internationally recognized as an institute that could provide services not only to students within the Gambia or to the hospitality industry in general, but also providing that same service from to the sub-region.
The countdown continues. We've got 5 days to celebrate. If you were going to celebrate as a sector, Honorable Minister Axi Gai from Fisheries, what will you celebrate? What would you look at in your sector and say, I am going to celebrate this aspect of Fisheries Department?
Malik, like I said in the beginning, we cannot quantify or actually lead you to what specific area, because what has been achieved is too much in the sector. Like I told you, we've covered most part of the activities in terms of fisheries. Today, like I'm saying to you that the security system or the policing of our waters has been intensified, because our membership in the sub-regional commission helped us to have the activity set up in this Gambia where surveillance of our waters will be taken care of. And Malik, that's one important aspect of the area that we are operating, where by the end of the year towards the early next year, I will be sitting in my office seeing the whole territorial waters of the Gambia. That is why we want to license the canoes, so that we can be able to identify each boat in our waters. That's one of the greatest achievements in this regime we have too in the fishing sector. Soon the poaching of our waters will be over, because we'll be sitting, seeing what is happening up front there, and our marines are doing well for that too. They will be engaged, They will have the same facility to watch what is happening, and I think our waters will be protected. And the same thing is going up the province too. From now on, if you were during the course of the sharing of the Ramadan sugar, you will hear the president warning the chiefs, the governors, to take care of our waters of the provinces. There is a lot of sort of poaching going there because you have foreign fisherfolk coming there, going inside our, estuary, getting our fish on. And here are spawning areas. Our river is set up to spawn our fish to come back to the oceans. So if it is depleted there, before we talk about the ocean, then we pay the price at home. And besides, for the time being, that has been taken care of. That's another achievement. Notwithstanding infrastructure of fishing, one of the biggest, Malik, is the post-harvest loss that used to happen in this country. You used to walk on the beach side and see a lot of fish product lying in our beaches because they will throw them out, nobody will know what. You will take what you want, the rest you will throw them. But now you have facilities where you can keep your fish for a period. So at least we've achieved a lot on that too.
Honorable Minister, not only tourism is under your domain, you also have culture under your domain. And from July 1994 to date, we have seen a great preservation of our cultural heritage. It has been given the kind of promotion it needed. For example, the Roots Homecoming Festival gets bigger and bigger. The Kanilai International Festival goes on. We have more cultural programs now on television. The celebrations, of course, of the 22nd July 20th anniversary has given prominence in culture. Can you dilate on cultural heritage?
I think you're quite right, Malik. A lot has also been done in the area of culture, showcasing of the Gambian culture as it is. And you mentioned two important international events, the Roots being one, and also the Kanilai Futumpaf in particular being another. I think as long as culture is concerned, we're equally concerned at the ministry, and I even tell people that my focus is going to be more on culture than it would be in terms of the Gambia Tourism Board as it is. And the reason is, I think, a number of initiatives are in place. When you talk of culture, it transcends just the way of life. The music. The way of life. In itself, and the value system as well, because that is quite important vis-a-vis the social fabric. The moral fabric, and the social and moral fabric of the country. And I think over time we've actually lost out on some things in terms of our culture, things that people might take for granted, but which is very important because these little things are what actually makes a difference. And I think that is why the National Center for Arts and Culture, we're looking at digitizing, if you will, some of these cultural heritages, because you don't want to lose them with time. So there's a need for a lot of work to be done in terms of archiving and digitization of some of these cultural norms. We spend a lot of time in terms of the tangible aspects of culture, and we tend to oversight the intangible aspects of culture. And I think there is need for us to focus a whole lot more in terms of the intangibles, because I think these are quite important and quite relevant. So though we've achieved a lot in culture, I think a whole lot of work needs to be done in terms of preserving that cultural heritage. And this is quite important and of utmost relevance because of the infiltration of Western culture as well. Because we cannot deny the fact that Western culture is dominating and actually going at a rate that is quite scary. So I think some work has to be done on that. So what we've tried to do in terms of showcasing our culture, the cultural aspects, of the various ethnic groups that make up this country, I think a whole lot of more emphasis has to be put in there. There is a need to showcase the various regional cultural attributes, cultural artifacts, be they tangibles or be they intangibles. And I think the more of this we showcase, the more radio programs and TV programs we have on these cultural norms and values, the better it is for us as a country, and the more the younger ones, the unborn ones, would appreciate the reasons why our grandparents, our great-great-grandparents have done things in certain ways. And I think this is quite key. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done at the level of the NCSC. But we are ready and equally posed to live up to the challenge to try and preserve the cultural heritage of this country.
Very well said, Honorable Minister. Of course, both of you are members of the Organizing Committee, are responsible for implementing the celebrations. Let's move away from your sectors now, and let us look at what are we going to celebrate. I know there's going to be the March Past, which is going to be one of the climax, because there His Excellency the President will preside, and of course he will make a statement on that day. I'm looking forward to his statement on the 20th anniversary. But there are other very key, important programs that will come. Actually, what has been going on with the Organizing Committee? What have you guys been doing?
Malik, we've been running around, but nevertheless, everything is in good shape of what we are trying to do during the course of the period. Because we want to showcase all activities that are we are talking about. We just talk about culture with the Honorable Minister of Tourism. Culture in all aspects will be taken care of. From the wrestling, from the masquerades, etc., dresses, song, dance, drumming, everything will be showcased during the course. We'll have a marathon run too, which will be very interesting for all categories. Marathon race will take shape into this. Wrestling contest from the Bovason ending all the way to Kanilai. You will have this great Sakir Naik here, who is going to have a bit of lectures around. One will be attracted through the university, one will go for the public, the other will go for the general public, the other will go for the local people towards Kanilai end. There are lots of things to look at, Malik.
Let me look at the question of the Ashabi. We had problems for
Ashabi
to come. Has it arrived now?
It has arrived. It's been publicized already, Malik, and I think we've started selling it today, Sunday, and it will go on, and everybody is going to dress on that, very colorful on that day. And this time you will see a very different Ashabi from the past Ashabis that used to be on. This was very much selected for this anniversary. It's a special occasion.
Ben, you heard your colleague. You want to add on to something? Add something onto that.
Yes, I think he's pretty much given a good rundown in terms of what to expect. But I think also in terms of the dignitaries that we're expecting from the international dignitaries, because it's going to be a colorful event, and people have been invited from the international guests. But besides that, also I think you're going to have a lot of inaugurations of facilities. I think those are also going to commemorate. From the tourism perspective, we are quite intrigued and quite interested, because we'll also be laying the foundation stone for the GT board and the Ministry of Tourism and Culture head office in Kotu. So that is quite interesting as well. But beyond that, I'm pretty sure you would also have activities for the youths, whether it's at buffer zone or whether it's on around the Arch 22. So it's a celebration that is trying to bring everybody on board. The regional participants as well as the participants from the greater Banjul area. So I think it's going to be quite an exciting 10-11-day period of celebrations from the 9th to the 19th. So we can only urge the public to come out and celebrate and join us celebrate, because as you had indicated earlier, there is reason to celebrate. And I think...
All right, I'll hold you on to that, because that's going to be my last question to you. Why do we celebrate?
We've achieved much for 20 years, which have not been for 50 years. You should realize that by next year we are 50 years old, Gambia.
As an independent nation.
A sovereign state. But if you will subtract 20 out of the 50, you have 30. We have much more in 20 than 30. So we have life to celebrate.
Wow. Honorable Ben?
Well, I think he said it all. I think I have endeavored to chronicle the achievements, of the July 22nd, in my book, entitled Pride of a Nation. And I've looked at both the First Republic and the Second Republic. But put all jokes aside, Malik, I think, in any economy, what the people are concerned first and foremost is employment. What people are concerned first and foremost is being able to put food on the table. And I think over the 20-year period, unless someone is devoid of vision, you'll be able to see that a lot has been achieved in that regard. The infrastructural developments, they speak for themselves. The road infrastructure, they speak for themselves. What has been managed to be achieved in the various sectors, he has expanded in terms of fisheries. He's here. But, we could all see this, the number of, fish landing sites, throughout the country. So there's reason for celebration. Employment level, not only in the Greater Banjul area, but in the hinterland as well. So there's reason for celebrate, and I think there are more opportunities, especially for the youths, because the youths are important, because they're the leadership of this country. The opportunities that the youths have today, in our days when we were coming up, we did not have it. So I think, we just have to be cognizant of the realities on the ground and come together and play our own bit in terms of getting this country to where it rightfully needs to be.
Honorable Ministers, you've said it all. I would like to thank you. Honorable Minister for Tourism and Culture, Ben Roberts, thank you very much for your expose on the need for us to celebrate, and definitely we will celebrate.
Thank you.
And the Honorable Minister for Fisheries, my good friend, Mass Axi Gai, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We wish you more success in the fisheries sector.
Thank you.
And as the ministers have said it now, so I'm going to say it, we've got 5 days more to the countdown, 10 days of nothing but pure celebrations, and we will celebrate 20 years of peace, progress, and development. From me, Malik Jones, bye-bye. We have a date.